George Durkee again, Columbia College's ArcGIS Online web mapping class. And in this video, it'll be a continuation of how to create a web app, specifically a geoform web app. And in this video, we're going to specifically use the Web App Builder option versus the template option. This will give you a little more ability to customize your web app. So notice when you go back to your table of contents that here's the web map we created to serve as the base for the field observations, the web mapping application where we use the geoform template. And so we're going to use that same web map to create a customized using the web app builder. So to do that, we can actually go back to the web map, or we can create a new web map, or we can actually do it right here from the table of contents. So let's click on web map. And notice you get a whole bunch of options here in the essentially the file behavior here, and you can edit title and what the map is going to be, the table it's derived from, and all sorts of other things. This is stuff, again, because of the shortness of the class, so I'm not going to go into great detail here, but you can also take a look at the usage, and here it's had 5 views, which was just me. Average views per day, I guess 7. You can take a look past 24 hours. So that gives you an idea of who's using it and when. And then there's settings here, and you want to definitely take a look at these. So let's prevent this from being accidentally deleted, and you want to save that anytime you make a change. Do you want others to save a copy of this item? For the moment, no. We're just going to restrict editing to me, the creator, the editor. We'll save that. And the application settings. So this will be you can turn on and off the basic tools and capabilities that will, by default, be on the app you create. And anyway, so that for find locations, place or address, or you can search within specific layers on that you make available. So if you'd put other layers from servers, so for instance the fire maps we did earlier, and if you do it by layer, then the name of the fire, for instance, would be searchable, and that could be useful quite often. Or if you put a hospital layer on there, that's probably available anyway through ARC's geocoder abilities, but that would also be on there. So anyway, let's just go back to overview, and let's create a web app. The drop down there, and this time, as I said, we're going to use the Web App Builder. And once again, we go with the tags, and this will be Field Survey Test 2 using Web App Builder. And this, we're saving it, of course, to the same folder. And then OK. And now we're looking at the same template possibilities we saw back in lesson 1. So we can go through each of these to set how this is going to look. So the theme, again, fool around with these and choose your color. Let's go purple. Sure, why not? And let's do the yeah. Sure, let's stick with that for the moment. Move on to your map, and of course we've chosen this from the web map, so that's going to be the same, but you can change that at any time. And whether you want to use the current map view or use the web map's default extent, which is whatever you set the web map at is what you'll see when anyone first opens the map. And customize visible scales, we could fool around with that, but we'll just leave that alone and accept the default. And how often the layers are updated. And remember, on the first lesson, we were dealing with servers, modus, and so on that are updated constantly, 2, 4 hours, or whatever they are. So whether you want to use a single interval for everything or honor each layer's interval, and we'll just trust that they're being updated at a reasonable rate. So notice down here on the bar, we have legend and the layer list as defaults, and we can zoom in and zoom out. So let's add some more tools. We go to widgets, and so first we want to add any of the tools, or I'm sorry, any of the capabilities here. So for instance, if we want the coordinates to show up, and notice that in the lower right here, I clicked on that and the coordinates showed up. It could be that this bar is going to interfere with that. If so, we'll go back and change the theme, but let's go with it for the moment. A scale bar is always a good idea. And do we want a splash screen? Sure. And then that allows us to edit it in attributes. And let's click that out of here. And next, set the widgets in this controller, so they'll show up down here on this bottom bar. And it could be, again, that we'll change the theme. So notice that the legend and the layer list, and notice that they're highlighting in red as I hover over each one and the zoom in and out. So let's give it the ability to add data. I'm just going to demo that. So for instance, if somebody's observation includes a GPS track, you can put that in. And let's allow the ability for measurement, location. You can get kind of carried away here and add too much. And base maps, let's be able to change the base maps. So that's enough for the moment. But again, it's stuff that you want to fool around with and familiarize yourselves with the capabilities that are available, the different widgets. So let's go OK. So notice they all show up down here. The most interesting one is add data, and this allows you to search for data as we did in lesson 1, to connect directly to a URL and also to search in your organization within your content or ArcGIS Online, or to bring up a file. And notice that you can bring in a shapefile from ArcGIS 10, and you remember to zip the file. Those of you who use ArcGIS know that a shapefile, SHP extension, is composed of 5 separate files, 5 or so separate files, and you want to zip those all together. And when you bring it in, it'll automatically be unzipped and recognized by the program. You can bring in a table, CSV, an Excel file, as long as it has location, so you want a lat and long, and a GPX file you can bring straight in. And here I'll demonstrate that. So let's go to Browse, and drill down a little bit here. GIS data, incident data. Oops, sorry about that, it's not there. Oh, maps are. Okay, And let's go to, let's see if I have anything in here. Incident data, GPS, yes. So let's, this is team data from a search, so let's see where this brings us. So I just dragged it over, which is a pretty cool new so anyway, there's the GPS file that shows in, including one of their waypoints that's in the data. So that could be useful also for a story map where you've done a route and you've taken photos along the way and you just want to show the route just by dragging it in. There's other ways to do that, but this makes it pretty easy. Okay, let's just X out of that. And we'll look at base maps. So this provides all of the base maps available on the S3 servers, and so you can change the background for any of that. The ruler, pretty obvious, but you can choose to do an area and have it show up in whatever type, acres or square feet or whatever, or distance, miles, kilometer, meters, etc. So you click to establish the beginning point and double click to end it, and so that's 2 miles, and unclick to erase it, or XY. So this is really useful. So you can click to establish the lat long of a particular point. So obviously the top one, the arrow, is as you move the cursor, but the bottom one is where I established that. And there's also one of the widgets is a conversion tool, which allows you, that was in decimal degrees, but there's a widget that also allows you to convert decimal degrees to several other coordinate types. So, okay, let's get rid of those and let's save. And let's preview. Oh, there's one thing we didn't do. Back to configure. Attributes. So here's your title, and this is Web AppBuilder, so you can put in another subtitle like observation form. I'm just making this stuff up. You can add a link and okay, one teensy little mistake. Even though I put in to add a splash screen, I didn't put any text in there. So when you choose a widget to add there or tool, go to the editing part. We've made it visible, or we've made it invisible, so there's visible again. So there it is. But now let's edit it and get rid of the logo there, and enter data using edit tool. You'll probably want to be more specific than that, and then you can set the appearance of it, set background colors, transparency, etc., and then you've got some more options here. But anyway, once again, I encourage everybody to fool around and just get a feel for what all the tools and so on do. So there it is. You'd want the typeface a little bit bigger there, and you might even want to make it a different color. And then you can also, of course, as we showed in lesson 1, you can, once you've seen it once, you don't want this splash screen to come up every time. Just okay. So now let's try that again. Save. And go back to preview and get rid of that. And notice again, those of you who have been here since lesson 1, you can get an idea of what it looks like on various devices. And it could be we don't want this theme. Notice down here you've got the scale bar, and if we're actually on it, it would also show the coordinates at the lower right. But click through and see if anything jumps out at you that maybe that's not the right theme or configuration. And you also have the QR code down here in the lower right, and so you can copy that and share it that way on however you're getting the word out to everybody. And you know, not to carry this on too much, but we didn't add the ability to share. So it's back to configure, and let's add one more here. Where'd share go? There's share. And so we'll add that. So then you can choose whether you want to share it on email, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And that'll also allow you, when you hit share, to get the URL in addition to the QR code. And hit OK. Save. And let's launch this so we'll see what it actually looks like. Okay. So there's what it's going to look like, and looking at it, I realize I've made yet another mistake. Hard to believe. So it's back to configure. I didn't even put in the editing tool that allows us, we're just looking at the map and we're not able to actually add data to it. So we need to add the editing tool, and or maybe, so we're back in configure, set the controller tools and widgets. We add one. We look for edit and OK. And then you can set a whole bunch of variables here, but we'll just accept the defaults. Save yet again. And let's launch it. Try and speed this up a little bit. So to add a point, we just click on the edit and highlight the symbol, and then you can fill in everything here. So today's date, and that'll be time. That's a little extra there. You can ignore that. And date of observation, etc., etc. Anyway, we've been through that before. And you might, once again, you know, experiment around and close. And so the symbol shows up. And remember that you can change the symbol in the web map itself. And then you also have editing tools. You can actually erase, you can clear the selection and show the attributes and establish it only gives you one choice for the point. And you can undo some of your edits and so on. Okay, kind of a short run through, though it may not feel that way, but just be sure to go through, try a whole bunch of different things, get a feel for it. You can't break anything. Your account will allow you to put a zillion web maps and apps on there. So just get some experience with it, and with anything in ArcGIS, I've found over the years that there's just so many apps and programs and tools and everything that a lot of what you do in ArcGIS is learn that something can be done. And it would be nice to be an expert on everything, but on a lot of this stuff, you'll do something, you'll do a tool, and you don't use it again for 2 or 3 years. But the key is somewhere in the back of your mind. Remember, this program does this. I just have to find that again and look for a YouTube video or the Esri help files or whatever to review how to do it and be able to repeat it. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. In this case, we'll do story maps next.